All right, fifth grade, for our next project, we're going to create a piece of op art. Op refers to optical, meaning it's going to have an optical illusion to it. So you're going to get a 6x6 sheet of paper, put your name and class code on the back, okay? Then you're also going to need a ruler. Since we're using a 6x6, you can grab a yardstick from the bottom shelf, or you can grab a 12-inch ruler from the can on top of my cabinets, okay? So you're gonna take your ruler, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use it not as a measuring tool, but rather a straight edge. So I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna line it up so that the edge lines up with the corner of my paper, and then comes over here and lines up with the other corner of my paper. I kind of have to adjust both sides. Once I feel like it's in a good spot, I'm going to make sure that my helping hand is doing its job of helping me, and it's located kind of in the middle here and it's got a good hold. I'm going to take my pencil, put it right up against that straight edge, and I'm going to draw my pencil across the ruler, kind of pushing toward the ruler, okay? You don't want to do this too hard, because if you make a mistake, it's going to be hard to erase, but you also don't want to do it too lightly either. So now we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to line up the edge of the ruler with my opposite corners, put my helping hand in place, put my ruler or my pencil against the ruler, and run my pencil along the edge of my ruler, creating a giant X in my paper, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a T. So I have to have a line going straight up and down and a line going side to side. What this is going to do is divide my paper into pie pieces, if you will. It's kind of taking your paper and making it into a square pizza or so. So I'm going to put my paper here and I'm going to line up my ruler. And I want my ruler to line up with that dot where my X is, like so. And the way that I make sure that my ruler is straight instead of like this, because it's going through the center, but it's not straight, is it? So the way that I do that is I also look at my ruler and I look at the edges. And I try to put the edge of my paper with one of the larger lines on my ruler. It should line up on one there and one over here on the other side. If it does, then my ruler is straight. I'm going to draw my line going horizontally through the middle of my paper, okay? Then I'm going to do the same thing vertically now. I'm going to line up my ruler so that it goes through the center of my lines. And I'm going to look at the bottom and the top of my piece of paper and make sure that it is lined up with one of those longer lines on my ruler. Most likely, if it lines up on one side, it will line up on the other. Okay, then we're going to draw our line going through the center of our paper, just like that. I now have basically a square pie piece on my paper. Okay, what I'm going to do now is create concave and convex lines. One refers to a curve in and the other refers to a curve out. Okay, you have to think of your pie pieces as having only one of those types of lines. So if this one has convex lines, then the two next to it will have concave lines. And it's going to alternate as it goes around your paper, just like this. Okay, now that we have made our concave and convex lines and we've gone over everything with Sharpie and erased any pencil lines that were kind of sticking out past my Sharpie, things like that, we are ready to add color. And what we're going to do is we are going to use complementary colors. So I have here my color wheel, and complementary colors are colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. For today, we're only going to be looking at our primary colors and our secondary colors, okay? Remember, our small circles are called intermediates. We'll get to those later. For our complementary colors, they're going to be colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. So if I was to look at the color red, what color is directly across from it? Green. So that tells me that that is a complementary color scheme, okay? What about purple? What's directly across from it? Yellow. So there's a second complementary color, okay? You're gonna notice that a primary color is always going to connect to a secondary color, okay? So my blue is going to connect to what? Orange. Orange is the complementary color of blue. You're going to notice that there are a lot of things that use complementary colors. If you start looking at advertising and team colors and all sorts of things, there are lots of teams that use complementary colors of purple and yellow, blue and orange. Christmas colors are green and red because they complement each other. They look good together. So we're going to choose 2 of those complementary color groups. If you really want to use purple, you're going to use yellow. That is its complement. If you want to use red, you're going to use green. If you want to use blue, you're going to also use orange. You're going to pick 2 complementary color groups. Okay, so I'm going to explain this again. This is one group, this is a second group, and this is a third group. You're going to pick 2 of those. So for instance, I chose the complementary colors of purple and yellow. That's one group. And then I chose the complementary color scheme of blue and orange. That is a second group. Okay? So I have my 2 individual groups. Is this a group? Purple and blue? No, these are not complementary colors. Yellow and orange are not complementary colors. You need to keep the colors together in their proper groups. I'm going to start with my yellow and purple for right now. This is one complementary color group. And what I'm going to do is just like my pie pieces, had one type of line, each of my pie pieces is going to have one group of complementary colors. So for instance, this group right here where the lines curve toward the center, I'm going to use with purple and yellow. My groups here where the lines curve away from the center are going to have my other complementary group of orange and blue. Here's what it's going to look like. Okay, so I have colored my op art with my 2 groups of complementary colors, yellow and purple and blue and orange. You may have chosen green and red as one of your complementary color groups, that's fine. What we're going to do now though is we are going to add on highlights and shadows. A shadow is where that part of your image or the object is farthest away from the light. So there's more shadow. So it's darker there, okay? Sorry, can't talk. The highlight is rather where the light hits your image the closest. So in our instance, we're trying to think of our pie piece sections because of the lines that are there. Some are we're going to try and make it look like they scoop down into your paper. And one section we're trying to make it look like they scoop over, okay? So one is raised and one is lowered. So that way it looks like your paper, instead of just being flat, ripples, okay? So we're going to add in highlights and shadows.